Well, as you can see there, tempers flaring in Blikkiesdorp, and we'll continue to talk a little bit more about it. You saw her in the insert. She joins us now, of course, the councillor that's here, the City of Cape Town Councillor Benedicta van Minnen. It's good to have you on the programme. Welcome to Morning Live.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
Let's elaborate a little bit more on Blikkiesdorp, because we really did see that this area has got some real problems and real issues there. How do you plan on getting to the bottom of that?
Well, what we have in Blikkiesdorp, it is a TRA, which is a temporary relocation area. So it's people who have been moved there for various reasons. Some of them come from truly horrendous situations, living in culverts, living in cars, all kinds of situations. And it's a temporary area where they're living, pending moving on to more permanent housing opportunities. Already we've seen about 30% of Blikkiesdorp moving to various other areas, some getting B&G houses. We also currently have about 100 who are about to go to the Roosendaal and Haasendal developments. So we are slowly moving everyone through that area.
Just give us a picture of the area we're broadcasting from, and give us a bit of history of the whole of Delft, not necessarily just Blikkiesdorp.
Well, we're seeing a lot of development in the Delft area at the moment. Blikkiesdorp has been there for about 10 years. It was initially constructed to assist with people who we say didn't have houses. We also have a lot of people there who have previously had houses who have lost them through various means, including evictions. So it really is a temporary relocation pending finding more permanent opportunities for them. And in fact, across the Delft area, as we've said, there is a lot of development. There's the Roosendaal development, there's the Hague. So there are all sorts of opportunities coming available here. And we're seeing a lot of development in the area, which should certainly assist with some of the problems here.
In terms of communication between community leaders and the leaders of the leaders of the metropolitan, I mean, how is it? How is the communication? How do you feel it is?
We've had a great deal of communication, and certainly in the last couple of weeks we've had a lot of very successful meetings with the leadership bodies from Blikkiesdorp. Certainly it's something one can always look to improve. Often one has misunderstandings. One needs to talk at length about a lot of issues, and we've also undertaken at the meeting last night that we'll be doing a series of workshops to also explain to people what the various housing options are in terms of the legislation.
I mean, backyard dwellings, you mentioned it, we mentioned the insert, it's growing rapidly here in this area. And I must say, one of the biggest challenges that I imagine you face is housing in the Western Cape. How do you get around this? I mean, what is the procedure and your plan in place going forward?
Housing is indeed a big concern. I mean, currently we've got 300,000 names on our housing database. That in essence adds up to about 1 million people who are waiting for housing. So we have long-term planning in place that looks at even development, ensuring that people are treated equally, ensuring that people aren't able to jump over the list over people who have, for example, been waiting 10 or 20 years. There are two components really to the housing issue. The one is the people who qualify in terms of national legislation for the B&G top structure, that's a traditional RDP house. And then we also have people who earn more than 3,500 rand a month. Now this really is a large group of people. Some of those are backyarders. They don't qualify for the B&G subsidy housing, but we need to look at other options. That largely comes from the private sector, looking at gap housing. And certainly in the City of Cape Town, we're looking increasingly at the need to facilitate private development to build gap housing to assist people who earn more than 3,500 rand a month.
All right. So many issues. I'd love to dwell on most of them, but I just want to jump to as many as we possibly can. And that is one thing we can't ignore. Not that it doesn't only happen here, it happens around the country, but particularly let's talk about gangsterism. I mean, it's a huge issue plaguing this area. Again, how do you plan on working around that issue?
Well, gangsterism is something that the city addresses at length. We do have the Safety and Security Directorate that deals with that, and they deal with it very well. It certainly affects areas like Delft, areas like Blikkiesdorp. What we're doing there is also looking at building partnerships with the communities to ensure that we have strong neighbourhood watchers and strong eyes and ears on the ground. It also needs to be remembered that the safety and security personnel of the city only comprise about 3% of the policing capacity of SABC. So a great deal of the responsibility of dealing with gangsterism lies with SABC, which is outside of the jurisdiction of the City of Cape Town.
But I mean, it's still obviously one of your major concerns, I imagine.
It is very much. And I mean, certainly we see with our anti-gangsterism unit, etc., but there really are a lot of initiatives that we're taking, working very closely with communities, who ultimately are the ones who are at the sort of cutting edge of gangsterism to deal with the scourge.
Let's talk about basic services. Obviously, we've touched on housing, but basic services. I mean, if I take my mind back to the general elections, those were almost an issue about toilets. That was a big issue here in the area, and also the throwing of human feces, and that was just something that I think that was trying to make a point. I mean, how far have you come in that?
We've come a very long way. We are above the national standards in terms of toilets to individual households and to collections of households. So we certainly have scored very well on that. A lot of recent studies have also shown that in terms of sanitation, in terms of access to sanitation, to water, to waste removal, the City of Cape Town scores very, very high, if not actually the top across the country. So it is an issue in Cape Town, but that's not to say it isn't also an issue in other big metros. And certainly the very rapid rate of urbanisation that we're seeing across the country is something that is obviously affecting that. In Cape Town, which has grown 30% in the last 10 years, the fastest rate in the country, it's something that we're constantly work to improve, because it is something that we need the residents to be able to access.
Are you confident the DA are going to hold on to this?
I am confident the DA is going to hold on to this.
I suppose I should have predicted the answer, shouldn't I have? Thank you for talking to us. Good luck with the upcoming elections. Talking to us here on the programme, Benedicta van Minnen is a councillor of the City of Cape Town. All right, let's take a break here. We'll take you back to the Johannesburg studio. Then, of course, at 7 o'clock, you'll get your main news bulletin. More after this. Stay tuned.